Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to make a legal pad cover. I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, it's not a full legal pad, it's a junior legal pad. I got these at the Dollar Tree, and I found a bunch of different videos of how to do this, and I kind of modified the ones that I liked and came up with one I'm happy with. You get 3 of them for $1 at the Dollar Tree. This is what my pad looked like, but I think they've updated it since then. It's called Treehouse Pad and Paper. So let's talk about what you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need one of these legal pads. My legal pad is 8 inches by 5 inches. If yours is a little bit different in size, you're going to want to measure it because sometimes they're a little bit bigger and sometimes they're a little bit smaller. So mine is exactly 8 by 5. If yours is a little bit different, then you're going to go with it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of cardboard and we're going to cover our cardboard with some cardstock. And I'm going to give you the measurements. My legal pad is 8 inches by 5 inches, but yours might vary. So what I'm going to explain to you is how you want this to, the cardboard piece, to be measured if your legal pad is a different size than mine. My cardboard is the same height. It is still, I'm making sure that I'm not lying, 8 inches tall, and so is my cardboard. My cardboard, though, is going to be wider. It's going to be an inch wider. So no matter how tall your legal pad is, that's the height that you want your cardboard piece to be. You also want to make it the width plus 1 inch. Okay, so your cardboard is going to be the same height as your legal pad. Your width of your cardboard, you're going to add 1 inch to your legal pad width to get the cardboard width. Then for your piece of paper that's going to cover it, you want it to be 1 inch wider and 1 inch taller than your cardboard. So mine is, don't know why I don't remember this, it's 9 inches by 7 inches. And this is 8 inches by 6 inches. So it's 1 inch taller and 1 inch wider. Hopefully that made sense. And then I'm gonna do it upside down so I don't get confused. I'm going to lay this so hopefully it's kind of centered all the way around. And I've got tear tape on that, on the back of that cardboard, so it's well adhered. Then you're going to take your scoring tool, stylus, and you're going to go around the edges. This will make it so your paper will fold easier when you go to wrap it around the edges. So we're just going to run the stylus around here. Oops, kind of went off the edge a little bit wonky there. Then you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to kind of make a little notch on the edges, kind of like a triangle, but it has a little bit of a curve to it. And you're leaving about 1/8 of an inch between the cardboard and the paper, and I'll show you that in a second so you can see what it looks like. You see this gap right here on this corner? That's what you want. You want a little bit of gap right there. The rest doesn't make as much of a difference as that does right there. Then you're going to put tear tape on your edge of your paper. You're not going to put it on the cardboard, you're going to put it on the paper because it's going to lay onto your paper, onto your, oh my goodness, your paper is going to lay onto your cardboard. I'm going to do the bottom edges first. Just making sure that they're well adhered. And then we're going to go in and do our sides. The easiest way is to kind of do this with it. My cardboard is from a back of a paper pad. You don't have to have a thick cardboard for this. It just needs to be thick enough that you have a little bit of stability on the back of your notepad. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but now we don't have any raw edges showing. See, our corners are nice and clean. Then you're going to take a piece of 8" by 7" paper, same green paper. So on our 7" length, I forgot to say that, on our 7" length, see this piece is 7 inches. You're going to score it at a 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your pen that you're going to use. And I'm going to use this purple one because I think it'll look cute with the papers that I have. Hopefully you can see my paper colors. Got this purple in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it in place where I'm going to want to have it sitting. So you're going to want to put your pencil on your 3rd score line. We're going to fold back the other scores. On our 3rd score line, we're going to sit our pen in here where we want it to sit. And remember how when you use a pen, you're going to clip it in with this little clip on the edge. Well, you want that clip to be the thing that you're using as your measurement, where it starts and stops. So at the top of mine, if I put my pen in right there, that's about where the top of the hook would be. Then I want to put in another cut so that it will have something to really hold it in place. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors. Remember we folded back on the 1 1/2 inch score. You have your 1/2 inch, your 1.5, and your 2 inch. So at your 1.5 inch score, you're going to fold it back, and there's the 2 marks I made. I only made those that dark so you can see them. I probably should erase those before, or erase most of them before I do this, because we're not going to want to have those lines there after I cut this. I can still see them. You probably can't. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut from that mark to your score line. Hold on, I got to make sure I got enough torque here. Only up to that score line, not over it. Again, at the top to that score line, but not over it. Now I started thinking about this, and this is where our pen is going to be resting. And I started thinking about how that might have some pull on it, some drag. You know, when you pull the pen in and out, you might have some issues with that. So what I thought about doing, and I don't know if this will work or not, you know your postal bags that you get, they're made out of this really tough material. This is one that I got in the mail. This is reusing. This is not a first use for this, in case you're wondering. But it's that material that doesn't tear. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of tear tape in that cut. Well, actually, I'm going to put it, I want to make sure I can see it. You want it to be on the inside of your paper. And I'm just going to put a little bit, hopefully this will work. What I want to do is end up with something that's going to make sure that my paper doesn't rip. You want to make sure that where you have your pen go in and out, in and out, in and out, that it's going to be nicely adhered and it's not going to come out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay a little piece of this material right on those pieces of tear tape, making sure that it doesn't go any further than those 2 lines. And then what you're going to do, I don't need that paper anymore, it's just for this. Then we're going to put some adhesive between our first score line and the edge of our paper, that 1/2 inch score. We're going to put a little bit of tear tape, well, I guess a lot of tear tape there. And the only reason I'm doing that is because that's how May did it. She said that she liked the idea of having a little bit of clean edge on her, that she doesn't have a raw edge of her cardstock there. And I thought that makes sense. You know, you want to have no raw edge. So I'm folding that piece over onto my back like that. So then what you would do, you're going to fold this very first score that's there. Now that would be your 1.5 inch score. Now you're going to fold it as a valley, and you're going to make your last 2 inch score, that's going to be a mountain. So the last score is going to be up and the next one is going to be down. Hopefully that made sense. I just had to make sure that I bent the paper underneath. That's my paper underneath. Now we're going to making sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. I might have to snip a little bit off because I have a little bit of a rough edge there that's not, doesn't have any tear tape on it. So I'll just snip off that little bit. Now, measurement wise on this, it's the same height. And as far as width goes, it's the same width as, didn't I just say my cardboard was 8 by 7? No, 8 by 6. You're going to make this, and I have to make sure I have this right. Yeah, it's going to be 1 inch wider than your cardboard. This piece of paper. This is going to be what is going to cover our notepad. We're going to put tear tape all the way up to that score line, that 1 inch wide score. And you don't want to put it over where you have your pen. You just want to have it, ooh, hold on, let go. You just want to make sure that it covers up to, but not including, your pen. Remember, this is going to lay on this, but you're going to have your pad in here. This little piece of paper is going to make it so that you don't see the white cardboard underneath the opening for my pen. So what we want to do is, when we put all this in place, I'm going to put this piece right on the edge like that so it covers up our pen. You'll see this it'll make sense to you in a second, hopefully. And then we're going to pick this up and we're going to push this piece down. That's our little piece is going to hide when you look. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. When you look inside the pen holder, see that? When you look inside there, now you can see just green. If I hadn't put that paper there, you would have seen white, and we didn't want to see that. I'm going to have a piece of paper that's going to go there on the front of our pad. I took a piece of cardstock that was 1.5 inches long and 8.5 inches wide. Then what I did is I took it and I put the paper inside my legal pad and I wrapped it around the back like this. Then what we're going to want to do is we're going to take our tear tape and we're going to run it all along this back. I'm also going to use some wet glue just to fill in, just to make sure this piece doesn't come off. And what this piece is going to do is it's going to hold our notepad in place, and it's going to allow us to be able to take our notepad in and out in case we, let's say you use up all this notepad. A lot of people would want to keep this folder and use it continuously for other legal pads. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make it so that you could reuse it with just having more tear tape on the back of this little piece of paper that pulls in and out. If you don't want to reuse it, what you can do then instead is you can just put tear tape on the back of your legal pad, and then you would put it in without any paper like this. This is just so you can reuse it. Again, this is my design. This is not something I saw on other people's. I just decided it made more sense to be able to reuse this with different, with once this legal pad's used up, then you'd be able to use your other 3 that you get in that set and be able to keep using it. As I said, I'm going to do a little bit of wet glue on this as well. That's just so I can make sure that it's going to stay. It's not a ton of wet glue. It's just enough wet glue to ensure that it's going to stay in place. That was barely art glue. Then you're going to open up your pad. You're going to make sure this is pushed all the way to the top. Follow that all the way to the very top. Then you're going to open up your pad, making sure that it's the left side is at a 90-degree angle, and you're going to put this up to the top. Hopefully it's inside, and then you're just going to push it down to make sure that that is well adhered. Then we're ready to decorate. This is the piece that I cut. Oh, I'm also going to put a pocket on there. You're going to need, for my size, it's 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. It's 1/4 of an inch shorter and 1/4 of an inch narrower than your notepad. So if your notepad is the same size as mine, then this is the size you want. And I think I'm just going to use wet glue for this. If you're using wet glue when it's hot and humid out, especially if you're using a fine tip applicator, you have to be very careful of doing that, because when it's very humid and hot, your glue has a tendency to dry really quickly, and you don't want that to happen before your project is done, if that made any sense. On the 7 3/4 inch height, you want that pattern to be pointing up, because if it has a pattern. Mine doesn't really have a direction, and I think I would recommend you do it that way, because it is a little bit confusing to do it the way I, to do it any other way, where I tried to explain it and I couldn't. We're going to get a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches by 6 inches, and we're going to score it. We're going to score it at a 1/2 inch. We're scoring it at 5.5 inches. And then you want to turn it one turn, and you want to score it at a 1/2 inch again. And that will make our pocket. We're going to fold up we're going to fold in our 3 sides. And I normally cut out my corner boxes, these little boxes. I leave the scores in. I cut out the scores. The piece of paper needs to be 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. That's pretty straight. We're going to go with that. And then we're going to put tear tape on the backs of our 3 scored pieces. Now you can also make a cover for your legal pad, like if you wanted to pull it out and use it, but I'm not going to do that, because I think it doesn't really need a cover. This is the cover, you know what I'm saying? You could, though. If you felt like you needed to have a cover, you could do that. Okay, so then I'm going to fold in. I'm going to fold up my bottom flap. I'm going to fold in my outer flaps like that. And then we're just going to put this, line it up. Like that. And now we have a pocket inside there. Just push on the side edge. If you wanted to, you could make another strip of paper that would go from top to bottom. I'm going to make it, let's see, 7 3/4 inches by 3, no. I think I'll make that by 1/4 inch. Okay. There, I think that looks a little bit better. It needed something, I thought, on that edge. So there we have it. It's a, I mean, I have some other things I could decorate it with. I have these butterflies. I thought about using one of the butterflies, and maybe I'll do this one little green one. I think I'm just going to put the butterfly on there. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with my front cover, but I think that looks good. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and please tell your friends about me on social media because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.